with Drew Brees and Tom Brady now in the same division, you have two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the same division, two all-time greats, but you also have a rarity in that you got two quarterbacks in their 40s in the same division. Drew Brees, 41, Tom Brady, 43. Well, Warren Moon was a guest today on The Herd with Colin Cowherd, and Warren Moon played until he was 44 years old. Played in the NFL until he was 44. And Warren Moon was talking with Cowherd, and they were talking about Tom Brady. And then Moon brought up not only Brady, but also Drew Brees and how what he sees watching them play now at this age.
I still think it's remarkable what Tom is doing, and he's still playing really good football. But I can see, especially as it gets later into the season, and you can see this with Drew Brees and some of the other quarterbacks as well. Their arms don't have the same pop that at the end of the season that they had early in the year, and that has to do with their age. And that's something I started to see in my career when I got older, that I didn't have that same pop in my arm, and a lot of it has to do with your legs, because you just become fatigued over the course of a whole season. And you saw Tom's arm that same way at the end of last year. So yeah, it's not a huge deterioration to where he can't throw certain routes, but there will be times when it gets late into the year that you're going to see some of that start to take its place. So he has great talent around him, which is great, and he doesn't have to do as much on that football team, which will be good for him at this stage of his career. So I still think he's going to have success because of those reasons, but he is not the same quarterback he was 3 or 4 years ago.
That almost goes without saying. You're not going to be physically at 43 what you were at 39. You're not going to be physically at 39 what you were at 35, and so on. I mean, that's just a very obvious statement. What was interesting about what Warren Moon was saying, just from a fundamental standpoint, it's not necessarily just arm strength, like your shoulder's older, your arm's fatigued, but he talked about like your whole body. A lot of that's, your legs and your hips. When you're aging and you're more fatigued in your legs and your hips, you're not going to get as much on those passes, which is a fundamental angle that a guy who obviously knows what he's talking about explained. So that was interesting. But I went and looked at this today because, and if you haven't read it yet, there's a great piece up right now at ESPN.com from Mike Triplett about Tom Brady and Drew Brees being in the same division and what to look for as those two go head-to-head. This is just going to be one of the super intriguing storylines throughout this NFL season. Brady in a new spot. Brady and Brees, both in their 40s, in the same division, both trying to win one more championship. I mean, aside from the new wave of young elite quarterback, of course, Lamar Jackson winning an MVP, Patrick Mahomes winning the Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. You look at rising superstars like Deshaun Watson, established superstars like Russell Wilson. Like, you've got that next wave of great quarterbacks that's coming up right now. The other really interesting storyline is these aging Hall of Famers trying to get one more before it's curtains on their career. And when I look at both these guys, though, from a year ago, and yes, Brady is older than Brees, but a year ago, I went and looked at their numbers. Remember, Tom Brady played a full season a year ago, played 16 games. Brees missed 5 games last year. So Brady threw for more yards than Drew Brees. Brees threw for 2,979. Brady threw for just over 4,000. But when you look at touchdowns, even though Brady played in 5 more games than Brees, 27-24 in touchdowns. Brady 8 picks, Brees 4. But the next two numbers are the ones that are most interesting to me anyway. Completion percentage, Brees 74, Brady 60. Drew Brees completed 14% more passes a year ago than Tom Brady. And then look at their quarterback ratings. Drew Brees' quarterback rating was 116.3. Brady was 88. And the interesting thing about Tom Brady, though, is when you go back to 2016, and I know they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, so I'm not trying to be completely dismissive of this. And they were able to win. But in many respects, the Patriots won that Super Bowl. I hate to say it this way, but in spite of Tom Brady. Yes, he's an awesome all-time quarterback, the greatest of all time. But when you look at Tom Brady over the last 3 seasons, when you start in 2016, it's undeniable that he has seen his production steadily decline over 3 years. In 2016, quarterback rating of 112. This is his ratings in the 3 years since. 112, 102, 97, 88. Touchdowns, 28, 32, 29, 24. Look at completion percentage, 66. It started at 67, 66, 65, 60. All of those numbers, Tom Brady since 2016 has seen a decline year by year in those categories. I'm not sitting here telling you Tom Brady can't play anymore, but Drew Brees is coming off, by his or any quarterback standard, an amazing season where he completed a record 74% of his passes. His quarterback rating was 116. He was the offensive player of the month in December, in the last month of the season. I keep saying we focus on this a lot in this offseason, but so much of the Saints conversation over the last 3 years has been about their unceremonious exits in the playoffs. The Minneapolis Miracle, the Nola no call, the push-off with Kyle Rudolph last year, whatever the case may be. What we keep forgetting is that the Saints are still playing at an elite level, and that includes Drew Brees. The same cannot be said for Tom Brady. Yes, I will be very interested to see if Tom Brady, with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin, with Gronk now, is he, without having to do everything, is he going to be productive and see a bump again? Or is he what he is? Is he a guy that's going to have a quarterback rating of 88 and complete 60% of his passes? I don't know. But what I do know is Brees isn't showing any sign of decline. Physically, like what Warren Moon said there, physically, sure. He doesn't throw the ball as well as he did when he was 35 or when he was 30. But the production is still there. Same can't be said for Brady. But what I am very interested in also with respect to Brees is, okay, Brees missed 5 games last year. Does that in some way, missing 5 games and having an early playoff exit, does that take some of the wear and tear off of Brees? Like, does he go into this season healthier because he didn't play a full 16 and then a deep playoff run? Like, I've thought about this a lot with pitchers as well. I mean, we're going to have this conversation whenever baseball does resume. But like, I think about this with pitchers. If you're Asa Lacy, okay, Asa Lacy is going to be the 3rd pick in the draft tonight. We just heard that. Big, power-armed lefty from Texas A&M who, if he were pitching this year, if college baseball hadn't been canceled, Asa Lacy would have thrown 100 innings this year. And not just thrown 100 innings, but like stressful, intense innings in meaningful games. Instead, he basically got to take a year off. How much is that going to extend potentially his career? I think about that with Gronk in some respects. Gronk was a shell. The last time we saw Gronk play football, he was a shell of what he was in his once dominant self. He's gotten a year now to just, basically it'll be 2 calendar years since he played football when he steps on the field again. Like, is his body healed? Is he regenerated, rejuvenated? Is that going to allow him to be a more productive player? Potentially. I think there's a lot of reason to believe that. So, I wonder the same with Brees, because he didn't play 16 and the injury he had has nothing at all to do with his arm strength or any of that. Is he going to be a more productive 41-year-old than he otherwise would have been if he had to play the full 16-game season a year ago? Something worth keeping an eye on.